shame that Turning Red won't have a wide theatrical release, given its wealth of laugh and cheer out loud moments. While Pixar's recent output has welcomed adults with open arms, their latest feels unapologetically in tune with younger audiences, both narratively and aesthetically, without compromising the heart and humor that makes these movies shine. Directed by Dom Ishii, it's an endearing and enjoyable story about family and friendship, whose parables about growing up arrive in the kind of inspired creative packaging that Pixar has needed for some time. Porridge. The year is 2002, and 13-year-old Meilin Lee has just about managed to find balance between excelling at school, spending time with her friends, and helping her mother oversee Toronto's oldest Chinese temple. Even before we meet our spry young protagonist, her introductory voiceover comes steeped in a spunky attitude.
I'm Meilin Lee. I wear what I want, say what I want, 24/7, 365.
A confidence that is tested when, one morning, she wakes up having transformed into a giant red panda. What at first seems like an obvious metaphor for puberty becomes delightfully more complicated when her mother is less than surprised by her transformation. As it turns out, this particular problem runs in the family. After a while, Meilin's red panda alter ego comes to represent all different kinds of things, but the film is never overwhelmed by its litany of allegories. This is owed largely to its crystal clear visual approach, which makes each moment and metaphor marvelously fun. Where recent Pixar films like The Good Dinosaur, Soul, and Toy Story 4 have skewed towards more realistic environments, Turning Red injects the studio's usual computer-generated aesthetic with a hypercharged anime approach. Crash zooms, heightened emotions, and sparkling eyes keep the focus squarely and amusingly on Meilin and her friends' romantic crushes. The character details are just as delightful. Meilin's friend group is diverse, not just ethnically, but also when it comes to their designs and personalities. They're all perfectly awkward for a story of 13-year-old girls, each with wildly different heights and body types. But they all fit together perfectly as a group, and their insecurities seem to melt away when they're together. Just as detailed as Meilin's friend group are her family dynamics, especially her relationship with her mother, Ming. The two characters have noticeably different designs, but when the film begins, their conversations and even their body movements mirror one another. This sets up a story in which they become each other's reflections in both overt and subtle ways as they eventually fall out of sync, and as Meilin faces trials her mother once had to face as well. All of this would be bog standard were it not for how every moment seems to shoot for the stars. While the more muted and realistic scenes are reserved for a few painfully quiet emotional moments, most of the film charges forward with a slapstick Looney Tune energy that comes occasionally drenched in the vivid hues of a 90s Disney dream sequence. Ludwig Göransson's score is dynamic and playful, and even helps tell its own story by stringing together Western pop and traditional Chinese influences. Every dramatic transition has its own zippy lightning cue, which makes the film a joke-filled ride, but its visual gags always enhance the tension and emotions rather than undercut them. Most of all, it's a movie that's frank about the most awkward moments of puberty, which it turns into lively and imaginative scenes at every turn. There's never a dull moment in Turning Red. That's both because she and co-writer Julia Cho lace each beat and interaction with layers of meaning, and because the whole thing comes wrapped in cartoon influences that value expression above realism. A story of magical transformation as a metaphor for personal and cultural change. Turning Red is Pixar's funniest and most imaginative film in years. It captures the wild energy of adolescence, uses pop stars as a timeless window